somebody who is not rooting for Colorado and has made it very personal is a dear friend of the Grum and someone who is considered one of the original 7, who now himself is an unaccredited member of the media. They don't get press passes. No. But apparently they rate highly enough that a Colorado sportswriter took umbrage with something that was said on their podcast. Our good buddy Jed Burks hosts a podcast called Big Red Junkies.
I've been on it 2 times.
Wow, I haven't been on it. Thanks, Jed.
And on
I think it'll stay that way, Nick.
And on a recent episode.
Yeah, what did Jed do?
Jed said the following, quote, F Deion Sanders and that childish little bitch.
Oh, Jed.
And then later he said, he's a childish effing bitch.
You can say curse words on podcasts?
Yes.
That seems new.
And it was a write-up on the SI.com site. You know, SI is just, it's not the same. It's not your father's SI, even your older brother's SI. SI has now turned into this place where you can, just anyone can write for it. Now, there are some places that,
like the Husker Max one. That's a good SI.
Yeah, they're affiliated with Husker Max, and our friend Dave Feit writes for them, and Caleb Henry writes for them, and they do a fine job.
Yes.
People who have actually been writers, been in the media, and there are other places where we don't know if these are fanboys who've just absconded the good name of SI and attached their writings to it. But this writer, Jason Jones, went so far as to reach out to
Nebraska.
Keith Mann at the University of Nebraska.
Unreal.
And basically tattletale saying, are you aware that these people in the Nebraska media are saying nasty things about Coach Prime?
Real quick, can you imagine hearing a fan podcast that covers any team and calling the SID, real quick, cover. They root for the team and they talk about it on a podcast.
Yeah,
they don't cover them. They talk about their favorite team. All right.
Yeah.
Imagine hearing that. You listen to a podcast and they say something. You're like, I don't like this. I'm going to call the SID and tattletale on fans for saying something that I have also probably said about a different fan base or a different coach.
I think the Colorado fan base might be turning into the Chiefs fan base.
Oh, don't disrespect the Buffs.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I guess if there was any hope that Jed or any of his colleagues on the Big Red Junkies podcast had of ever getting a press pass, I guess that went out the window.
Goodness gracious. Thanks a lot, Colorado.
And they have drug the rest of us into the muck with them. The Omaha World Herald, Husker Online, this radio station, the Husker Sports Network.
Sad.
Anybody affiliated with Husker Media has now been lowered to the level.
Sad.
Because somebody out there had the gall, the nerve, the audacity to call Coach Prime a bleeping bitch.
Should we go to the phones?
Let's go to the phones and welcome in Jed.
Oh, wow. What great timing. Hi, Jed.
Hi, Jed.
Oh, my gosh. This has been quite possibly the craziest 48 hours of my life.
Really?
Wow, that's saying a lot for you.
Seriously, you're Jed.
You're Jed.
Trust me.
You ate a cat poop or cat food taco on the air one time.
You've probably done things you haven't even aware of yet.
That or admitted to, yes.
Yes.
100%.
I'm baffled by the response. I mean, I guess I probably shouldn't be because, hell, I've been known once or twice to maybe say a few things about Nebraska fans too, and they came at me quite aggressively. But
that's a good point. Mr. Jones didn't write about that.
Yeah, I've had 2 death threats on Twitter. That was fun.
Oh my gosh!
And apparently I'm also racist because I insulted Prime.
Oh geez.
But I'm kind of curious. Like, I would love to have them listen to some of our other shows, considering what I've said about Frost. So I don't know.
Wow,
it's been pretty wild. I just wish that that guy would have contacted us instead of or the university, because I would have loved to talk to him.
Oh, I'm sure you would.
This has got to be great for you. It seems like, because I've seen some tweets recently, it seems like you guys are getting a bunch of Colorado listeners, so that's got to be nice.
Yeah, just recently I also was going back and forth with a dumb TV reporter out in Colorado. We were going back and forth a little bit, so maybe it'll be on the news there too. I mean, they need all the information that they can get, I guess.
Oh, that's amazing.
When Josh sent me the DM last night, because I didn't see the original tweet from you, and I was like, what the hell is this all about?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, oh my God.
Hobbs is the first one that sent it to me, and he said, "You really stepped in it this time." And I was like, "What are you?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I clicked the link, and I basically had the same reaction you did.
I mean, not even Scott Frost, who was not known for being the
It's a Colorado fan. Hurry, watch out, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. But all the other people that you've insulted, you've talked about over the years, this is the first time anyone's reached out, and it's some rando from Colorado.
Are we sure that these reporters, I guess I should say quote unquote reporters from Colorado, aren't affiliated with Bo Pelini too?
Oh, interesting. Like
trying to get people in trouble and confront people. Well, I guess I shouldn't say confront people because these Colorado, I don't know if I can, I know you guys said it, but I don't know if I can say the B word here, but these Colorado Bees certainly can't confront me. So,
Jed, real quick before we let you go, can you imagine if you would have had this podcast going during the Bo era?
Oh boy.
Would have been wild.
I wouldn't have been let in the stadium, let alone any media things.
Yeah, exactly.
Jed, an old foil, has opined on Twitter.
Oh.
Joe in Vegas.
What does Joe say?
I'm so proud of Jed. Keep it up.
Wow.
Well,
we are near the end times. We are going to get the Palestinian-Israeli thing solved. I mean,
when Jed and Joe come together, anybody can come together.
Yes.
Well, since he had the balls enough to say that to me, I will say this to him. Thank you, Joe.
Wow. America, we're coming together.
We are coming
Dion
together.
is bringing us together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jed.
Yep.
Thank you. I was just about to leave. I was like,
There's Jed.
Wow, that was
Unbelievable.
fun.
Yeah.
Look at Jed trolling folks. Joe also asked, who are the original 7? I don't know. Jed.
Jed's one of them.
Jed. Hobbs.
Is Nebraska ball
Is
Mike?
Asian Joe in there?
Asian Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're at 3 right now.
I can't remember the others.
Yeah, you have to ask Kevin.
Well, now shifting gears, but staying with Colorado for a moment.
Yeah.
Because the exact same writer who's also joined by one of his colleagues. So it's starting to add a little
double
more
byline.
It's starting to add a little more validity. We told you the story 2 days ago about Colorado's special teams coordinator, Trevor Riley, was no longer on the coaching staff, and it left Colorado without a dedicated special teams coach of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this was an analyst. They got 22 guys apparently in their coaching ranks. None of them are now specifically assigned special teams duties. But this guy, Trevor Riley, was. Well, he is no longer there. He resigned on August 1st. But this report, again from Sports Illustrated Colorado, reporting that Riley, one of the reasons why he is, maybe the reason he is gone, has to do with trying to acquire Saudi money, Saudi blood money for Colorado's NIL efforts. I will read from the story. So Riley went on the record, according to SI, trying to pull in funding for the school's 5430 NIL collective. He says there's no bad feelings with anyone in the program, but he was at odds with a few people in Colorado's administration. Riley said he spent time in the Middle East this past year lobbying the Public Investment Fund for name, image, and likeness funding. The PIF is famously known in Saudi Arabia, the same folks who are funding Live Golf, the same folks who have stake in a variety of different other sports, international sports, soccer teams, things of that nature.
Yep.
And this is the whole sports washing or blood money that a lot of people in the American press have accused the Saudis of doing, trying to whitewash their record of human rights violations by buying into popular sports. And apparently Riley was working on behalf of Colorado football to get some of this Saudi blood money for Buffalo's players. So what the quotes from attributed to Riley come from his resignation letter, according to Sports Illustrated. Quote, the arrangement was that because I did all the NIL work at Jackson State, Prime's previous stop, and got us through, you guys would pay me a modest salary and make me the special teams coordinator, which would have freed up time for me to handle NIL activities. You paid me $90,000 a year and let me handle special teams. I did all this work in your name and was told to pursue it. I burned through all my contacts in my Mormon community, which is worth about $3 trillion. Now I can't get these people to answer my calls because I just found out today that none of my endeavors will happen. I even went to Saudi Arabia and got a meeting with the Saudis who are interested in pursuing business. I have email receipts to prove it, and you guys let it fall flat on its face. So I'll stop there for a moment. So apparently this guy's job, yes, he was the special teams coordinator, but his real job sounded like he was out there farming for money.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he went through
lobbyist.
Apparently he went through folks in the Mormon community and then took his efforts across seas to Saudi Arabia. And he's saying, hey, I arranged all this stuff. They appeared to be interested, but you guys balked, and now we got none of this money. So it sounds like to me that Riley's frustrated that he went through all this work and then Colorado didn't pull the trigger, and it's making it look bad on him for not being able to secure the bag.
So it's not that he was trying to secure the bag. It was that he couldn't secure the bag. It's like a bad salesperson, right? He couldn't get the sale done.
It sounds like it sounds to me, at least the way he's talking, he says, I have email receipts to prove it, and you guys let it fall flat on its face. So it sounded like he had somebody on the hook, the Saudis, and Colorado either put the kibosh on it because they weren't comfortable with it, or, just kind of let it die on the vine.
I saw a tweet from Adam Kramer, old friend of the Grum, Cakes and Eggs, where he said about this, in 10 years, this sport is going to look so incredibly different. Whether it's PIF or PE, outside money is coming, and it's going to change the whole college model. And then he added, also LOL. And
I agree.
This is, we have spent a couple of times now this summer talking about outside money like this, these cash infusions. Of course, we have talked about it over the last year-ish, 2-ish years about Florida State. The Big 12, that was the one, and that was during the College World Series. So I don't think you and I actually ever had a chance to chat about it together. But that was the next kind of big one, and that surrounded the naming rights discussion for the Big 12. This, though, is the first time that we have heard about something to this degree, I guess, with one singular program. And also, given who is involved in this, I think a lot of our antennas are going up because they have gotten involved in sports lately. And, I think people are just worried about it. If you're worried about the future of college football because of NIL, I have to imagine that this does not leave you with a warm and fuzzy.
Well, of course
it doesn't leave me with a warm and fuzzy, and I don't care about NIL. That's not bothering me.
Leaves me with a cold and rough.
Cold and stabby.
Private equity is coming to college sports.
100%.
And I remember talking about this a few years ago that, especially when the Live PGA stuff was really flaring up a couple of summers ago. I said, what's going to stop the PIF from investing in college football? And it sounds like Colorado was making the overtures, or at least this former special teams coordinator on behalf of Colorado was making overtures exactly to that fact. And somebody sometimes out there is going to take that money. If the Saudis are interested and there's somebody out there who's desperate enough because they need to keep up, and we all think that, they got Coach Prime, so they got all the NIL they want. No, they don't. Their NIL efforts outside of, what Travis Hunter and Shador are getting. But as far as the rest of the team and being able to secure other great players, they're not. They're not at the level of 1890. They're not at the level of Ohio State or Florida.
No.
That's why they were out there basically farming for dollars. It's going to happen. At some point, someone's going to accept the blood money bag, and it sounded like Colorado was close to doing that, and this guy quit his job out of frustration that he might have had them on the hook and Colorado didn't pull the trigger.
Mhm.
That's how I am reading this story.
What a wild thing to drop, just a week and a half before the first game of the season. A week away from the first game of the season.
A week away from the first game.
For the Buffs.
And the weirdness is the guy who wrote this story and got this was the same person who happened to catch Jed's podcast and said, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever.
So wild.
Weird times we live in, my friends.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Chad adds, myself and a different Chad, we're also Original 7. # remember Bob Bruce. So I believe we're up to 5 or 6 now of the Original 7.
2 different Chads?
Yeah, the Chad boys.
You would have to ask Kevin if he can identify the Original 7.
I sent him a message earlier.
Because they were the ones who coined the phrase.
Yes, that the 7 listeners.
Because I believe, didn't that come from a critic on the Scrolls who said they only have 7 listeners anyway?
Is that what I never asked Kevin?
I believe that's where it stems from, because famously this program wasn't very pro Steve Peterson and the regime at that time.
No.
And there were a lot of people who thought that this was an anti-Husker show.
I'm starting to think that this radio program specifically is just contrarian to the Husker sports world.
Oh, is that what you think, Nick?
Yes.
So maybe you are perfect here.
Maybe I belong here.
Oh, so are you finally admitting you're a contrarian?
Sure.
Wow. Chris writes, the private equity thing blows my mind. How do the investors plan to get a return on their investment? The university can't sell the team. I don't understand what the return is. That is a tremendous question.
Maybe they can sell the
return.
team.
Basically, okay, and we're going down a bit of a different path here, but basically the private equity firms, yes, it would be a loan. Private equity would invest in the team in the form of a long-term loan, but at some point they would expect that, and I think they would end up, in most cases, would probably get a percentage of earnings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say my private equity firm wanted to invest $50 million into Georgia Tech. I'm guessing at some point, I would like a percentage on the points of future revenues earned by Georgia Tech as payment for that initial investment.
Yeah.
That's how it would work. The private equity firms are not just going to give the money away and not expect anything in return. No, they're basically banking on the future revenues in TV money, ticket sales, and whatnot. That's how they get their money back.
What if they shadow sell the team? So, like, it's their team, but it really belongs to the Saudis or whoever.
Well,
maybe that's how this goes.
You wonder what that does for fandom. Adam points out it's already happening. The Players Era Festival in college basketball that Creighton is playing in pays each team's athletes $1 million in NIL money. The tournament is funded by the Saudis.
Oh, interesting.
Wow, John. Blood money, John.
They have a lot of money.
I'm not getting any money.
Blood money, John. You're on the plane.
I'm not.
You're on the plane. Blood Money John. Call him that, Nick. Put that on your little graphic.
Blood Money John.
It's time for the Blood Money John blood of the game.
I'm not flying Saudi Airlines.